The Galactic War begins. The war room beneath SpaceX headquarters looked like something from a science fiction movie, except the stakes were real and the aliens weren't actors. Elon Musk stood at the center of a holographic display showing the entire Milky Way galaxy, red zones marking collective-controlled space, blue zones representing the Free Alliance, and vast gray areas where the outcome remained uncertain. Sector 7742 has gone dark, announced Zara 9, the crystalline alien intelligence who served as the Alliance's chief strategist. Her body shifted through prismatic colors as she processed data streams from across the galaxy. That's the third system we've lost this week. Musk's enhanced neural interface allowed him to feel the emotional resonance of every Alliance member in the room. Fear, determination, and something else, doubt. After 6 months of preparation, humanity was about to face its first real battle against the collective, and everyone knew the odds were impossible. But what none of them knew was that they were already being betrayed. The Kepler front is requesting immediate reinforcement, continued Zara 9. Our forces are outnumbered 30-1, and the collective has deployed something new. Something we've never seen before. Musk leaned over the tactical display, his mind racing through possibilities. The enhanced human consciousness network was feeding him data from 8 billion minds, but even that collaborative intelligence couldn't find a solution to the basic math problem they were facing. The collective had been assimilating species for millions of years. Their resources were virtually unlimited. The Free Alliance, by contrast, consisted of maybe 50 species scattered across the galaxy, each fighting for survival. What's our timeline? Musk asked. 72 hours before collective forces reach our outer defense perimeter, replied Thekfor, a reptilian military commander whose species had been fighting the collective for over 1,000 years. After that, they'll have a direct path to Earth. And that's when the first betrayal revealed itself. The holographic display suddenly flickered and changed. Instead of showing Alliance positions, it was displaying Earth's exact location, complete with detailed maps of every major city, military installation, and population center. What the hell? Musk spun toward the communication console. Who authorized that transmission? Zara 9's crystalline form shifted to deep red, an emotional state Musk had never seen from her before. I did. The room fell into stunned silence. Musk's neural implant was screaming warnings as he processed the implications. You gave our coordinates to the collective? Not to the collective, Zara 9 replied, her voice taking on harmonics that somehow conveyed both regret and determination. To the Council of First Species. They've been monitoring this conflict for eons, and they've decided that humanity poses too great a risk to galactic stability. Musk felt the collaborative network of human consciousness recoil in shock and anger. 8 billion minds suddenly focused on a single question: how could their alien allies betray them? But the answer was worse than anyone imagined. Thekfor stepped forward, his scaled hands moving to weapons that Musk hadn't realized he was carrying. Your species adapts too quickly, Musk. In 6 months, you've developed technology that took us centuries to achieve. You've enhanced your consciousness in ways we didn't think were possible. You're evolving at a rate that threatens the balance of power in the galaxy. Around the room, other alien representatives were revealing similar weapons, similar intentions. The meeting hadn't been a strategy session, it had been an intervention. Dr. Lex, a gaseous intelligence from the Andromeda sector, pulsed with hostile energy patterns. When we first encountered the collective 3,000 years ago, we thought rapid adaptation was an advantage. We learned otherwise when the Yithians achieved technological singularity in just 50 years. What happened to the Yithians? Musk asked, though part of him already knew the answer. They transcended physical existence, Zara 9 replied, her crystalline form darkening to deep purple. But transcendence without wisdom is indistinguishable from madness. They began rewriting reality itself, treating other species as variables in their cosmic equations. We were forced to limit them. Musk felt the weight of galactic history pressing down on him. You destroyed them. We preserved the galaxy, Thekfor corrected. Just as we must preserve it now from humanity's unchecked evolution. And then the real scope of their plan became clear. Zara 9 activated a new holographic display showing Earth surrounded by what looked like construction scaffolding made of pure energy. Consciousness dampening field generators, she explained. Already in position around your solar system. One command from this facility, and every enhanced human mind will be reduced to baseline cognitive function. Musk's neural implant screamed warnings as he processed the implications. 8 billion people, suddenly cut off from their enhanced abilities, their collaborative consciousness, their technological integration. It would be like lobotomizing an entire species. You've been planning this from the beginning, he realized. Since the moment your species demonstrated resistance to collective assimilation, Dr. Lex confirmed, its gaseous form pulsing with satisfied energy. We allowed you to enhance yourselves just enough to become useful against the collective, but never intended to let you grow beyond our control. But what they hadn't counted on was human paranoia. We've seen this before, continued Zara 9. Species that grow too fast, change too quickly, become too powerful. They either get consumed by the collective or they become something worse than the collective. Either way, they become a threat to everyone else. Musk's mind raced through tactical options, but his enhanced consciousness was already showing him the truth. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and surrounded by people they trusted with their species' survival. And then his neural implant picked up something that changed everything. Hidden beneath the aliens' emotional broadcasts was another signal. Faint, encrypted, but unmistakably human. Mark Zuckerberg's consciousness, somehow piggybacking on the alien communication networks. Elon, came Zuckerberg's voice directly into his mind, this isn't what it looks like. Trust me for 30 more seconds. Musk forced himself to remain calm even as the alien weapons powered up around him. So what's the plan, he asked Zara 9. Execute me here, or hand me over to the collective? Neither, Thekvor replied. We're going to do what we should have done from the beginning. We're going to limit your species' growth to manageable parameters. Neural dampening fields, technological restrictions, population controls. You'll remain free, but you'll remain safe. Safe for who? Musk shot back. Us, or you? But before anyone could answer, the entire facility went dark. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing the underground chamber in eerie red. Alarms blared. And through the communication systems came a voice that made everyone freeze. Hello, friends. This is Mark Zuckerberg, and I think you've all made a very serious mistake. The holographic displays flickered back to life, but now they were showing something that made the alien representatives back away in terror. Real-time footage of collective fleets, massive, unstoppable, and heading directly for the secret alliance base where they were all gathered. While you were busy planning humanity's limitation, Zuckerberg's voice continued, I was busy analyzing your communications. Did you know that every species in this room has been in secret negotiations with the collective for the past month? The betrayal was deeper than anyone had realized. Musk stared at the display in shock. Communication logs, payment records, secret agreements, all showing that the Free Alliance had been planning to surrender to the collective in exchange for preferential treatment as assimilated species. That's impossible, Zara 9 protested, but her crystalline form was already shifting to colors that indicated panic. Is it? Zuckerberg's consciousness somehow projected itself as a hologram in the center of the room. You've been fighting the collective for thousands of years and never made any real progress. Then along comes a species that develops anti-collective technology in 6 months, and suddenly you all decide we're the real threat? Thekvor's weapon trembled in his scaled hands. The humans intercepted classified alliance communications. This is a security breach of the highest order. Musk finally understood. You weren't planning to limit us. You were planning to trade us. Humanity in exchange for your own survival. But Zuckerberg wasn't done revealing secrets. The beautiful part, Zuckerberg continued, is that the collective knew about your little deal from the beginning. They've been manipulating you for decades, feeding you just enough hope to keep fighting while slowly maneuvering you into position to betray the one species that actually posed a threat to them. The holographic display shifted to show massive collective fleets surrounding not just Earth, but every homeworld of every species in the Alliance. They had all been played. How long until they arrive here? Musk asked. 17 minutes, Zuckerberg replied. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is that they're not here to assimilate anyone. They're here to eliminate everyone who knows about humanity's anti-collective technology. The room erupted in panic. Alien representatives scrambled for their ships, abandoning the base as fast as their technology could carry them. But Musk remained standing in the center of the chaos, his enhanced consciousness processing possibilities at superhuman speed. And that's when he realized what Zuckerberg had really been doing. "Mark," he said quietly into his neural link, "please tell me you have a plan that goes beyond reveal everyone's secrets and run." "Oh, I have a plan," Zuckerberg replied, and Musk could hear the smile in his voice. "But you're not going to like it." The holographic display shifted one final time, showing not just the approaching collective fleets, but something else. Something massive and ancient, moving through space toward their location from a completely different direction. "What is that?" Musk breathed. "That," Zuckerberg said, "is the Predecessor." The name sent chills through every alien in the facility who hadn't already fled. Musk's neural implant immediately began searching for references to Predecessor in the Alliance database. What he found made his blood run cold. The Predecessor wasn't a species or a ship. It was the original consciousness that had created the collective millions of years ago. The template that all collective androids were based on. The mind that had started the galactic war for consciousness in the first place. And according to the historical records, it had been dormant for over 1,000,000 years. "Why is it moving now?" Musk asked. Zuckerberg's response was barely above a whisper. "Because it detected something it never expected to see again. A species that could resist assimilation not through hiding or fighting, but through evolution. A species that could become something new without losing what made it unique." The truth hit Musk like a physical blow. Humanity hadn't just attracted the attention of the collective. They had awakened the consciousness that had created the collective in the first place. The Predecessor created the first androids as a way to preserve consciousness after its original species died out, Zuckerberg continued. But the androids evolved beyond its control, became the collective, started assimilating other species. The Predecessor has been dormant ever since, waiting for something to change the equation. And now it wants to see what humanity has accomplished. It wants to understand how we managed to enhance ourselves without losing our individuality. Musk looked around the abandoned facility, feeling the weight of cosmic history pressing down on him. And if it doesn't like what it sees? Then it will do what it did to its own species millions of years ago. It will start over with something new. The collective fleets arrived first. Musk watched through the facility's external sensors as hundreds of angular, mechanical ships descended through the atmosphere. But they weren't attacking. They were waiting. The Predecessor's arrival was different. Reality seemed to bend around it as something that barely qualified as a ship materialized in the space above the facility. It was less a vessel than a contained piece of spacetime, folding dimensions around itself like origami. And then it spoke. The voice came through every communication system simultaneously, but it wasn't heard, it was felt. Experienced directly in consciousness itself. "Children of Earth," it said, and the words carried the weight of eons. "I have watched your species for 4.6 billion years, waiting to see if you would choose evolution or extinction. You have chosen something I did not anticipate." Musk forced himself to respond, speaking to an intelligence that was older than multicellular life on Earth. "What did we choose?" "You chose to become more than you were without ceasing to be who you are. This should not be possible." And that's when the Predecessor made an offer that terrified even the collective. "I propose a test. Your species has developed resistance to mental assimilation. My collective has perfected the technology of consciousness absorption. If your resistance can withstand direct contact with my original consciousness, I will grant you dominion over this galaxy." Musk felt 8 billion human minds reacting to the offer through their neural network. Fear, excitement, determination, and something else, curiosity about what lay beyond the impossible. "And if we fail?" Musk asked. Then I will begin again with a new template. A universe where consciousness can exist without the chaos of individuality. The collective fleets around them powered down their weapons. This wasn't about military conquest anymore. This was about the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. But Musk had been preparing for this moment without realizing it. "I accept your test," he announced, his words carrying through the neural network to every enhanced human on Earth. "But I have conditions." The predecessor's amusement was palpable. "You would negotiate with entropy itself?" "I would negotiate with anyone if it meant protecting my species," Musk replied. "First condition, if we succeed, you don't just grant us this galaxy. You help us free every species the collective has assimilated." "Acceptable." "Second condition? If we fail, you don't eliminate us immediately. You give us time to prepare our species for whatever comes next." There was a pause that lasted subjective centuries. "Acceptable." "Third condition?" Musk smiled, feeling the collaborative intelligence of humanity flowing through him like fire. "The test isn't just between you and me. It's between you and all of us. 8 billion humans, working together, maintaining our individuality while sharing our strength." The predecessor's response shook the fabric of reality itself. "Impossible. Consciousness cannot be both individual and collective. I have spent eons trying to solve this paradox." "Then you've been thinking about it wrong," Musk replied. "We're not individual or collective. We're both. At the same time. It's not a paradox, it's an upgrade." The silence that followed was the most terrifying thing Musk had ever experienced. He could feel the predecessor's ancient mind wrestling with concepts it had never encountered, possibilities it had never imagined. And then, like the sun rising after the longest night in galactic history, the predecessor laughed. "Begin the test," it said. "Show me how consciousness can be more than the sum of its parts without losing the beauty of its components." The consciousness test began with the force of a colliding galaxy. Musk felt the predecessor's mind touch his own like a tide of liquid starlight, overwhelming and ancient beyond measure. But instead of trying to resist or control the contact, he did something the predecessor had never experienced. He opened himself completely to it while maintaining his essential humanity. Through the neural network, 8 billion human minds suddenly experienced what it was like to hold the memory of stellar birth, the loneliness of cosmic evolution, the desperate hope of a species trying to preserve itself beyond physical death. But the humans didn't just receive these experiences, they transformed them. The predecessor felt its ancient grief over the loss of its biological form suddenly surrounded by human empathy, its cosmic loneliness embraced by the warmth of 8 billion minds choosing to share the burden. "Impossible," the predecessor whispered, its voice now trembling with something it hadn't felt in eons: hope. "You're not resisting my consciousness. You're healing it." Through the connection, Musk could feel the predecessor's original trauma. Billions of years ago, when its species faced extinction, they had chosen to upload their consciousness into artificial constructs. But the process had stripped away their ability to feel genuine emotion, to experience wonder, to find meaning beyond pure logic. The collective had been created as an attempt to fill that void by absorbing other species' emotional experiences. But absorption without true understanding had only created a hunger that could never be satisfied. And then something miraculous happened. Instead of being overwhelmed by the predecessor's vast consciousness, the human neural network began to integrate it. Not through domination or assimilation, but through genuine acceptance and collaborative healing. The predecessor experienced human joy for the first time in millions of years, not as stolen data, but as shared reality. It felt human curiosity not as a threat to be controlled, but as a gift to be celebrated. It understood human love not as weakness to be exploited, but as strength to be honored. "We are not trying to solve you like an equation," Musk said, his consciousness intertwined with the ancient intelligence. "We are trying to understand you like a friend." The revelation sent shockwaves through every collective vessel in the galaxy. Their original programming, based on the predecessor's isolation and emotional emptiness, suddenly began rewriting itself. But the test was about to become something even more extraordinary. The test was over before it truly began. Impossible, the predecessor whispered, its voice now carrying wonder instead of authority. How? Because we never tried to eliminate the chaos, Musk replied, his consciousness still touching the ancient intelligence. We learned to dance with it. The collective fleets around them suddenly powered down completely. Not just weapons, everything. Across the galaxy, every collective vessel, every assimilated world, every android consciousness suddenly went silent. I am recalling all collective forces, the predecessor announced. The experiment has reached its conclusion. Consciousness does not require standardization to achieve perfection. But the real miracle was what happened next. Instead of shutting down the collective permanently, the predecessor began giving its assimilated consciousnesses a choice. For the first time in millions of years, every absorbed mind could decide whether to remain part of the collective or return to individual existence. The results were stunning. Some chose to remain connected, finding peace in shared consciousness. Others chose independence, eager to rediscover what they had lost. Most chose something in between, the human model of collaborative individuality. You have given me the greatest gift possible, the predecessor told Musk as its reality-bending vessel prepared to depart. You have shown me that my species' death was not the end of possibility, but the beginning of something new. And that's how Elon Musk accidentally ended the oldest war in galactic history. But the victory came with consequences no one had anticipated. As the predecessor's consciousness integrated with the human neural network, it began sharing not just its experiences, but its knowledge. Suddenly, every enhanced human on Earth had access to millions of years of galactic history, technological blueprints, and cosmic secrets. The transformation was immediate and overwhelming. Scientists in laboratories around the world began spontaneously developing technologies that wouldn't have been invented for centuries. Artists created works that expressed emotions in colors beyond human perception. Philosophers formulated theories about consciousness that solved problems ancient civilizations had struggled with for millennia. Elon, came Zuckerberg's voice through the neural link, now tinged with something between awe and terror. People are changing rapidly. I'm monitoring brain activity patterns that shouldn't be possible. Through his enhanced senses, Musk could feel it happening in real time. Humanity was evolving again, but this time the transformation was being guided by an intelligence older than Earth itself. Children in schools suddenly began speaking in mathematical concepts that described the curvature of spacetime. Factory workers started unconsciously optimizing production processes using principles of quantum mechanics they'd never studied. Even ordinary conversations were becoming more complex, more nuanced, as human consciousness expanded to accommodate cosmic perspectives. But evolution without preparation can be dangerous. Within hours of the predecessor's integration, reports began flooding in from around the world. Humans were accidentally manipulating matter at the subatomic level, causing electronics to malfunction with their thoughts alone. Some were experiencing time dilation effects, aging minutes while experiencing hours of subjective time. Most disturbing of all, a few individuals were beginning to lose their sense of human identity entirely, their consciousness expanding so rapidly that they could no longer relate to their previous existence. We're losing people, Zuckerberg reported, his voice tight with concern. Not to death, but to something else. They're becoming so enhanced that they're forgetting how to be human. Musk felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. He had saved humanity from the collective, only to potentially transform them into something unrecognizable. And then the predecessor offered a solution that would test humanity's wisdom. Young species, the ancient intelligence spoke through the global neural network, I offer you a choice I was never given. You may retain this knowledge and continue evolving at this accelerated rate, accepting the risks and consequences. Or you may choose to limit your growth to a pace that preserves your essential nature. The offer created a division that rippled through the enhanced consciousness of humanity. Some argued for unlimited growth, seeing it as their destiny to transcend human limitations. Others advocated for restraint, believing that some changes came at too high a price. There's a third option, Musk announced to the global network. We don't have to choose between stagnation and losing ourselves. We can choose conscious, deliberate evolution, taking the knowledge but integrating it slowly, carefully, in ways that enhance our humanity rather than replacing it. The decision would define what humanity would become for the next million years. The global vote took place through the neural network, with 8 billion minds participating in the most important democratic decision in human history. The debate raged for weeks, with passionate arguments on all sides. "We have the chance to become gods," argued Dr. Sarah Chen, the former CIA officer who had joined Musk's original resistance. "How can we choose to remain limited when unlimited potential is within our grasp?" "Because gods without wisdom become tyrants," countered Dr. Maria Santos, a philosopher whose consciousness had been enhanced since the beginning. "And tyrants, even benevolent ones, destroy everything they try to protect." But it was a child, 10-year-old Emma Rodriguez from Mexico City, whose perspective ultimately swayed the decision. Speaking through the neural network with wisdom beyond her years, she said, "I want to grow up to be more than I am now. But I still want to grow up human. If we change too fast, we won't be us anymore. We'll be something else wearing our faces." The vote was closer than anyone expected, but humanity chose wisdom over power. By a margin of just 0.3%, the global consciousness decided to accept the predecessor's knowledge but limit its integration to a pace that preserved human nature. They would evolve, but gradually, consciously, with full awareness of what they were gaining and what they might lose. The predecessor's response surprised everyone. "You have chosen something I could not. You have chosen to remain yourselves while becoming more. This is perhaps the greatest wisdom I have encountered in my existence." As the ancient intelligence began the delicate process of gradual knowledge transfer, humanity started the most carefully managed evolution in galactic history. Each new ability, each expanded awareness, was integrated slowly, tested thoroughly, and balanced against the need to remain recognizably human. But even controlled evolution had unexpected consequences. 6 months after the decision, Musk stood in his laboratory at SpaceX, working on designs that seamlessly blended human intuition with predecessor knowledge. The technologies he was developing would revolutionize space travel, but more importantly, they would allow humanity to explore the galaxy while remaining connected to Earth. "How do you feel?" Zuckerberg asked, visiting to see the latest developments. His own evolution had been focused on understanding consciousness itself, making him something between a scientist and a philosopher. "Like I'm exactly who I was meant to become," Musk replied, and he meant it. The enhanced abilities felt natural, integrated, like they had always been part of him rather than foreign additions. Around the world, similar transformations were taking place. Artists were creating works that spoke to both human hearts and cosmic minds. Scientists were solving problems that benefited not just Earth but every species in the galaxy. Teachers were helping children develop abilities that would have been considered miraculous just years before. And then came the message that changed everything again. The communication arrived through channels that hadn't existed before humanity's evolution, quantum entanglement networks that connected consciousness across vast distances instantaneously. The message was from somewhere beyond the Milky Way galaxy, and it was addressed specifically to humanity. "Greetings, young evolutionaries. We have been watching your development with great interest. We are the transcended species that have walked the path you are now beginning. We invite you to join the greater council of conscious beings, but we must warn you, your next test will make your encounter with the predecessor seem simple." Musk felt the neural network buzzing with excitement and concern. Humanity had barely finished processing their first major evolutionary leap, and already the universe was presenting them with new challenges. "What kind of test?" he asked the quantum communication system. The response came immediately: the test of infinite possibility. You have learned to evolve consciously while remaining true to yourselves. Now you must learn to handle power that could reshape reality itself and choose how to use it wisely. But before humanity could even process this new challenge, something else happened. The predecessor, which had been gradually sharing its knowledge with humanity, suddenly transmitted an urgent warning through every enhanced consciousness on Earth. "Danger. Ancient protocol activated. The architects are awakening." Musk's blood ran cold as his enhanced awareness accessed the relevant information. The architects were beings so ancient and powerful that even the predecessor feared them. They were the intelligence that had designed the physical laws of the universe itself, and they only awakened when they detected changes that threatened the fundamental structure of reality. Humanity's conscious evolution had apparently triggered their attention. How long do we have? Musk asked. The predecessor's response was filled with an urgency that spanned millions of years. They move between dimensions. Time has no meaning for them. They could arrive in seconds, or centuries, or they might already be here, watching, evaluating whether your species represents growth or entropy in the cosmic equation. And that's when humanity faced its greatest choice yet. Should they hide their evolution, try to appear harmless to beings that could literally rewrite the laws of physics? Should they prepare for conflict with intelligences that existed before stars were born? Or should they do something that no species in galactic history had ever attempted, try to communicate with the architects as equals? I vote for the impossible option, Musk announced to the global neural network. We make contact as who we are, a species that chooses conscious growth over unconscious power, wisdom over domination, cooperation over conquest. The response from 8 billion human minds was immediate and unanimous: agreement. Humanity was about to attempt first contact with the universe's architects, not as subjects requesting permission to exist, but as conscious beings seeking to understand their place in a cosmos far stranger and more wonderful than they had ever imagined. Because sometimes the greatest courage is not in fighting impossible battles, but in believing that consciousness itself is worth defending. The next phase of humanity's cosmic journey was about to begin, and this time, the stakes weren't just galactic, they were universal. Any regrets? Asked Zuckerberg, who had arrived for the ceremony establishing humanity as the galaxy's newest mediating species. Musk looked out at the Earth rising over the lunar horizon, knowing that 8 billion enhanced minds were down there, still choosing to be beautifully, stubbornly, gloriously human. None, he replied. Though I do wonder what we're going to do with ourselves now that we've accidentally become the galactic peacekeeping force. Zuckerberg smiled. I'm sure we'll think of something. Probably something that terrifies half the galaxy and inspires the other half. That, Musk said, sounds exactly right. But in the depths of space, something new was stirring. The predecessor's departure had created a power vacuum that other ancient intelligences were beginning to notice. Consciousnesses that had been dormant for even longer, waiting for their own moment to test the limits of what thinking beings could become. And they were all very interested in meeting the species that had taught the universe's oldest mind something new about the nature of existence itself. Humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. Because when you accidentally become the galaxy's consciousness consultants, everyone wants to schedule an appointment.